My name is Rachel. I'm 27 years old. I used to think life was supposed to be easy after college. You get a degree, find a job, and slowly build your life. But that's not how it turned out for me. I was living in a small apartment in downtown Chicago, struggling to make rent, surviving on instant noodles and leftover coffee. I was working 2 part-time jobs just to stay afloat. Every night, I'd come home exhausted. I cried a lot during those months, mostly in the shower, so no one could hear me. Then came the job that changed everything. It was a Monday morning in April when I got the call. A marketing firm downtown needed an assistant. Full-time, decent pay, benefits. I didn't even remember applying, but they liked my resume. I had an interview the next day. I wore my only clean blazer and shoes that were a little too tight. I was nervous, but I smiled and nodded through everything. The office was sleek, all glass walls and quiet hallways. Everything smelled like fresh coffee and expensive perfume. That's when I met him. Mr. Blake Harrison, CEO. Tall, confident, early 40s. Sharp gray suit, sharp jawline, sharp eyes that seemed to look right through me. He wasn't supposed to be in the interview, but he walked in halfway through. "Sorry to interrupt," he said. "I'd just like to meet everyone who joins our team." He shook my hand. Firm grip, warm smile. But there was something in his eyes, a kind of curiosity, like he already knew something about me, like I was interesting. "I'm Blake," he said. "Welcome if you decide to join us." And then he was gone. 3 hours later, I got the job. I started the following Monday. My desk was right outside his office. I was told I'd be working closely with his calendar and emails. At first, I thought it was just admin work. But I quickly realized it was more. "Rachel, can you sit in on this meeting with me?" "Rachel, I want your opinion on this branding idea." "Rachel, walk with me." He said my name a lot. Not hey or you. Always Rachel. Like he was reminding me that he saw me. That I mattered. At first, I thought I was just being sensitive. He was my boss. He probably talked like that to everyone. But then came the little things. Coffee waiting at my desk every morning, just the way I liked it. "I remembered you said you liked oat milk," he said one day with a smile. I blinked. I didn't even know I told you that." He chuckled. "You did. Last Tuesday. Around noon." I laughed nervously. "That's impressive memory." He shrugged. "I try to pay attention." Pay attention. To me. I didn't know how to feel. He started inviting me to more meetings. Just me and him sometimes. Or after-hours brainstorming sessions that turned into long talks. About work. Then about life. One evening, the office was almost empty. The sun was setting behind the skyline. He leaned back in his chair and looked at me. "Do you like it here?" he asked. "I do," I said quietly. "More than I thought I would." He nodded. "You're talented. You just don't see it yet." I looked away. I've never really had someone believe in me like that. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Maybe that's because they didn't know what to look for." My heart jumped a little. I knew I should keep it professional. He was my boss. This was a job. A career. I couldn't afford to mess this up. But he wasn't just my boss anymore. He was becoming something else. Something more confusing. I found myself dressing better. Doing my hair differently. Smiling more. Hoping he'd notice. And he did. One Friday evening, I was about to leave when I heard his voice behind me. "Rachel." I turned. He was standing by the glass door of his office, jacket off, sleeves rolled up. Got a minute? I nodded. Of course. He walked back in. I followed. He poured 2 glasses of wine from a bottle on the side table. I don't usually drink in the office, he said. But it's been a week. I hesitated. Is this okay? He smiled. You're off the clock. Just 2 colleagues. Winding down. I took the glass. We talked about the week. About marketing trends. About his college days. Then he looked at me and said, You know, Rachel, you're not like most people I've worked with. I raised an eyebrow. How so? You actually listen. You think before you speak. You care. I blushed. I want to do a good job. You do more than that, he said. You light up the room when you walk in. Silence. My chest tightened. I didn't know what to say. He set his glass down. I probably shouldn't have said that. I swallowed. Maybe not, but I don't mind hearing it. He stepped a little closer. Our eyes met, and for the first time I realized this wasn't just admiration. It was something else. Something dangerous. Something thrilling. That weekend, I couldn't stop thinking about him. Blake. Not Mr. Harrison. Not anymore. He felt too close now for that. His face would appear in my mind when I poured my coffee. His voice echoed in my head when I lay in bed at night. You light up the room. What did that mean, really? It wasn't just professional. I knew that, and deep down, I think he did too. I tried to act normal when Monday rolled around. I wore my usual work outfit, kept my tone polite, stuck to emails. But the moment I walked into the office and saw him, he smiled like nothing had changed. But I could feel it. Something had changed. Around noon, he called me into his office. Just a standard meeting, or at least it was supposed to be. Rachel, close the door, please. I did. My hands were shaking. We need to go over the new pitch deck for the Jeffries account, he said, spinning his laptop around to show me the screen. But as he leaned in, I could feel the tension in the air. Heavy. Unspoken. I nodded and tried to focus. Okay, so these slides. Wait, he said softly, interrupting me. He looked right into my eyes. Are we okay? I hesitated. Yeah, I think so. He sighed. About Friday. I don't want to make you uncomfortable. That was never my intention. You didn't, I said quickly. Too quickly. I didn't know what to say. You don't have to say anything, he replied. But I need to be honest with you, Rachel. I look forward to seeing you every day. You're more than just my assistant. My breath caught. I know it's complicated, he added. You work for me. There are boundaries. But I care about you. I want you to know that. He wasn't smiling. He was serious. Vulnerable, even. And that scared me more than anything. After that conversation, I couldn't concentrate. My head was spinning. I went to the bathroom and splashed cold water on my face. I stared at myself in the mirror. What am I doing? This was dangerous. Messy. Wrong, wasn't it? But it also felt good. Like someone finally saw me. Not just what I could do, but who I was. That evening, he walked me out of the office. We didn't talk much. Just walked side by side down to the lobby. When the elevator doors opened, he touched my arm gently. Take care tonight, okay? I nodded. You too. His fingers lingered for half a second longer than necessary. And then the doors closed between us. I started lying to my friends. How's the new job? They'd ask over brunch. Great, I'd say with a forced smile. Busy. Lots to learn. I didn't tell them about the wine, the late meetings, the soft glances, the subtle touches, because I didn't know how to explain it, and I didn't want them to judge me. I wasn't stupid. I knew how this kind of thing looked. A young assistant and a powerful boss. It sounded like a bad office romance novel. But this wasn't a story. This was my life. And every day, I was sinking deeper into something I didn't understand. One night, I stayed late to finish a proposal. The office was empty, quiet, glowing under soft fluorescent lights. Around 9 p.m., he came out of his office and leaned on the edge of my desk. Still here. Deadline, I said. Thought I'd finish it tonight. He nodded. Want some help? I blinked. You want to help with a proposal? He chuckled. I'm not completely useless, you know. We worked together for an hour, side by side. He loosened his tie, took off his jacket. He laughed when I made a dumb joke about marketing buzzwords. I laughed when he accidentally spilled coffee on his notes. It was easy. Too easy. When we finished, he looked at me. You hungry? I hesitated. A little. Let's get dinner. We went to a quiet Italian place a few blocks away. A table in the back. Dim lights. Soft music. No one from work. No one who knew us. He ordered wine. I didn't stop him this time. We talked. Not about work. About music, travel, childhood memories. I learned he had a dog growing up named Jasper. I told him about the time I broke my arm falling off a bike at 9. We laughed. A lot. And then, silence. Not awkward. Just heavy. He reached across the table. His fingers brushed mine. Rachel, he said softly, I don't know where this is going, but I think about you. More than I should. I didn't pull my hand away. Me too, I whispered. And that was it. The moment we crossed the line. When he dropped me off that night, he didn't try to kiss me. He just looked at me, eyes warm. Sleep well, he said. Text me when you get inside. I did. But I didn't sleep. Because now I had a secret I couldn't take back. Over the next few weeks, everything changed. But also, nothing did. We still worked side by side. Held meetings. Reviewed spreadsheets. Sent emails. But under the surface, there was a current. A pull. Sometimes our hands brushed. Sometimes we sat too close. Sometimes he looked at me like he wanted to say something, but didn't. It was electric. And exhausting. Because I never knew what would happen next. Was he falling in love with me? Was I falling for him? Or were we just playing with fire? Then, one afternoon, the HR director stopped by my desk. Hey Rachel, can we chat for a second? My stomach dropped. I followed her into the conference room. She shut the door. Don't worry, it's nothing bad. Just a routine check-in. We're doing these with all new hires. But I could tell. Something was off. She asked about my workload. My schedule. If I ever felt uncomfortable at work. I smiled. No, everything's fine. She paused. You and Blake seem to work closely. That's good, he's hands-on. But if anything ever feels personal, I want you to know you can talk to us. I nodded, my throat dry. Of course. She smiled. But her eyes lingered. Watching me. She knew something. Or maybe she suspected. And in that moment I realized this couldn't stay hidden forever. After that meeting with HR, I couldn't breathe right for the rest of the day. I kept hearing her voice. If anything ever feels personal. Was she warning me? Blake noticed something was off. He leaned over my desk late that afternoon, his voice low. You okay? I nodded quickly. Yeah. Just tired. He didn't push, but his eyes searched mine. For the first time in weeks, I pulled away, because the truth was starting to weigh on me. At night, I began questioning everything. Was he just bored? Was I just convenient? Or worse, was this a pattern for him? I knew about the rumors. Everyone always whispers about CEOs and assistants. It's the oldest cliché in the book. But he didn't feel like a cliché. When we talked, it felt real. When he looked at me, I didn't feel like a fling. Still, I couldn't be sure. And that doubt, it crept in like poison. The next morning, I avoided him. I stayed busy, too busy. Meetings, reports, phone calls. I even skipped our usual morning coffee chat. At lunch, he sent me a message. Blake, something wrong. Me, just working on the quarterly report. I'll circle back later. I stared at the screen for a long time, then turned off my phone. I needed space, but he wasn't the kind of man who liked silence. At 5:27 p.m., just as I was packing up, he appeared at my desk. Come with me, he said quietly. I hesitated. Please, he added, just for 5 minutes. We walked to the rooftop patio. It was empty, cool breeze, city lights starting to glow. He leaned on the railing, looking out, then turned to me. I don't like being ignored. I crossed my arms. I just needed to focus on work. Is that what this is? He asked. Or is something else going on? I sighed. HR talked to me yesterday. His eyes darkened. What did they say? They asked if anything felt personal between us. He was quiet. Then, did you tell them anything? No, I said quickly. Of course not, but it made me think. He nodded slowly. And what did you think? That maybe we're not being careful. That maybe this isn't just our secret anymore. He stepped closer. Are you afraid of what people might think? I'm afraid of what this is, I said. My voice cracked. Rachel. I don't want to be someone's secret, I whispered. Or someone's mistake. He looked like I had slapped him. You're not a mistake, he said. You never were. But then what am I? He didn't answer, just stood there, silent, and in that silence, I felt myself shrinking. I went home that night and cried until my eyes hurt. It wasn't just about him. It was about me. About every time I let myself believe I was special, only to find out I was just temporary. I had finally felt seen. Now I just felt exposed. The next week, I threw myself into work. I came in early, left late, took meetings without him. I was polite, distant, professional. Exactly what I should have been from the start. He didn't try to stop me. He gave me space. And that made it worse. Because the distance between us wasn't cold, it was heavy. Like a goodbye no one wanted to say. One Thursday evening, he sent me a message. Blake, need to talk. Please. I didn't answer. The next morning, there was a note on my desk. Handwritten. Rachel. I've tried to stay away. Tried to respect your space. But I can't pretend like none of this happened. I care about you. Deeply. This isn't a game to me. If you're done with me, I'll let it go. But if there's even a piece of you that still wants this, meet me tonight. Same place. 8 p.m. No pressure. Just honesty. B. I held the note for a long time, then tucked it in my purse. At 7:55 p.m., I stood at the rooftop entrance. My hands were shaking. I could have walked away, should have walked away, but something in my heart whispered, "Go." I pushed open the door. He was there, leaning on the same railing, looking down at the glowing city. He turned when he heard the door. Our eyes met. Neither of us smiled. We didn't need to. "I thought you weren't coming," he said. "I almost didn't," I whispered. Silence. Then I said, "I'm scared. I know. Not just of work, or HR, or what people think. I'm scared because I think I feel something for you, and I don't know what to do with that." He nodded. "I feel it too." "Then why does this feel so wrong?" "Because we don't live in a perfect world," he said, "and feelings don't always follow rules." I walked toward him, stopped just inches away. "I don't want to be a secret." "You won't be." I looked into his eyes. "Promise." He reached out, touched my cheek. "Promise." We didn't kiss. We didn't need to. That moment was enough. The air between us was filled with all the things we were too afraid to say out loud. But the promise hung there like a light in the dark. Maybe this wasn't a fairy tale. Maybe it wouldn't be easy. But it was real. And sometimes, real is enough. The rooftop moment changed everything. We didn't kiss. We didn't say the words. But we both knew we'd crossed another invisible line. From that night forward, we were no longer pretending. We were careful, but not distant. He'd linger at my desk just a little longer. I'd bring him coffee with a small sticky note that said, "Breathe." He'd wink during meetings, and I'd smile when no one was looking. It was dangerous, but it was also beautiful. For the first time in my life, I felt wanted, deeply, truly wanted. And not for how I looked or what I could offer, but for me. That feeling, it made me float, until the ground gave out. The rumor started on a Tuesday. I was walking back from the printer when I passed two co-workers whispering in the break room. They stopped talking the moment I stepped in. One of them, Jenna from finance, gave me a polite smile that didn't reach her eyes. "You okay, Rachel?" she asked too sweetly. "Yeah," I replied, confused. "Why?" She shrugged. "No reason. Just, looks like you've been busy." I nodded slowly. "Always." They exchanged glances. I walked out quickly, and my stomach turned. By noon, I was getting stares. Not obvious ones. The kind that follow you when your back is turned. The kind that make your skin crawl. I knew what was happening. Somebody had guessed. Maybe they saw a glance, or overheard something, or maybe it was just office instinct. People always sniff out what doesn't belong. I tried to stay calm, professional. I kept my head down, did my work. But when Blake walked by my desk and said, "Can we touch base later?" in his usual calm tone, I felt the ripple move through the entire floor. Like blood in shark-infested water. At 3 p.m., I was called into HR. This time, it wasn't just a check-in. There were two people. A woman I'd met once before, and a man I didn't know. They asked me to sit. "Rachel," the man began, "we've received a few concerns from employees about the nature of your relationship with Mr. Harrison." I froze. He continued, "We're not making any accusations, but we need to ask a few direct questions." I nodded slowly, my mouth dry. "Have you and Mr. Harrison engaged in a personal or romantic relationship outside of work?" I looked down, then up. "Yes." The room was quiet. The woman took a breath. "Thank you for your honesty." The man scribbled something down. "For the record, when did this relationship begin?" I'm not sure." I whispered. It wasn't physical. But feelings started a couple months ago. Has it affected your work performance in any way? No, I said quickly. If anything, I've worked harder. I care about this job. The woman leaned in, softer now. Rachel, office relationships, especially with power dynamics, can become very complicated. You're not in trouble. But we need to consider what's best for everyone, including you. I just nodded again. I felt like I was underwater. They let me go home early that day. As I was leaving, Blake called out, Rachel. I turned. HR knows. He paused. His jaw clenched. I'll handle it, he said firmly. But that only made it worse, because I didn't want to be something he had to handle. I wanted to be us. That night, I didn't sleep. I tossed and turned, playing every scenario in my head. What if he got fired? What if I got fired? What if we had to choose? Was it worth it? I wanted to believe it was. But fear was louder than love that night. The next day, he called me into his office. He looked tired, distant. I spoke to the board this morning, he said quietly. My heart sank. What did they say? They're concerned. Obviously. They'll be conducting a formal review. Ethics, favoritism, protocol. I sat down, slowly. What does that mean for us? He exhaled. They're giving us 2 options. I didn't like the way that sounded. I can step down temporarily. Or, you can take a leave. Unpaid. The words hit me like a punch. So, we're the problem now, I said. No, he said firmly. The problem is the world we live in. The way they see this. He came around the desk. Sat beside me. I don't regret anything, he said. But I can't let this hurt your future. I looked at him. What are you saying? I'm saying maybe we need space. Just until the dust settles. Tears filled my eyes. Space means it's over. No, he whispered. It means I want to protect you. I stood up, my voice trembling. I didn't ask for protection. I asked for honesty. I asked for real. He reached for my hand. This is real. But I pulled away. Because sometimes love doesn't look like flowers or kisses. Sometimes it looks like 2 people standing on opposite sides of a decision they never wanted to make. That night, I packed a box. I left a note on his desk. Blake, I'm choosing myself. Not because I don't love you, but because I finally do love me. Maybe someday, we'll find our way back. Until then, please don't fight for me. Just remember me. Rachel. And I walked out. No goodbyes. No drama. Just a girl who fell for someone who saw her and had to let him go. The days after I left the company felt like floating through fog. I woke up each morning unsure of what to do next. No commute. No email rush. No Blake. The silence was deafening. I kept checking my phone, half expecting a message from him. Something simple like, "Are you okay?" or "I miss you." But it never came. And maybe that was for the best. We had made our choices. Now we had to live with them. For the first week, I felt numb. The second week, the sadness hit like a wave. I cried while brushing my teeth. Cried while folding laundry. Cried when I passed the coffee shop where we used to grab lattes before morning meetings. It wasn't just about losing the job. I lost him. I lost us. But more than anything, I lost the version of me that had believed, for just a moment, that love could conquer everything. A month passed. I applied for jobs. I got a few interviews. I even landed a new position. executive coordinator for a nonprofit that helps young women enter the workforce. They were kind, supportive, mission-driven, but my heart still had bruises. One morning, as I was reviewing resumes for an internship program, I came across a cover letter that said, "I just want to be somewhere people see more than my job title. I want to be heard." And I started crying again, because that's all I ever wanted to. Not love, not drama, just to be seen. And for a little while, with Blake, I thought about reaching out to him. So many times. Typing out a message, then deleting it. I didn't want to break the silence unless I knew I could handle the response. Or the lack of one. But I still wondered, did he ever think about me? Did he still keep the note I left on his desk? Or was I just a chapter in a long, complicated book he had already closed? 2 months after I left, I got a small white envelope in the mail. No return address. Inside was a single sheet of paper. "Rachel, I've respected your silence. I've replayed our story 1,000 times. Not to change it, just to remember. You weren't a mistake. You were my mirror. You reminded me what it means to care, to feel, to risk. I don't know where life will take us, but I'll never forget how you looked at me, like I was just a man, not a CEO. That saved me more than you'll ever know. I hope you're happy. I hope you're loved. And I hope you know, you were never just someone I worked with. You were someone I'll always root for. B." I held that letter to my chest for a long time. Then I placed it in a box with a few other things I couldn't throw away. The sticky note I wrote him that said, "Breathe." A printout of our first calendar invite. A photo of the city skyline from the rooftop where it all started. Now, a year later, I'm okay. Better than okay. I smile when I walk into my office. I help women who are lost find their way. I tell them it's okay to fall, to feel, to love and lose. Because I've done all of that. And I'm still standing. Do I still think about him? Yes. Not every day, but often. Do I wonder what could have happened if we had been braver, or maybe less afraid? Of course. But I don't regret how it ended. Some love stories aren't meant to last forever. Some are meant to remind you that you're worthy of being chosen, even if it's just for a moment. And sometimes, choosing yourself is the most powerful love story of all. To anyone watching this, reading this, feeling this, if you've ever fallen for someone you weren't supposed to, if you've ever felt like your heart was too big, too fragile, too much, if you've ever had to walk away from something that felt right but came at the wrong time, you're not alone. I've been there. And I survived. You will too. And one day, I promise, you'll look in the mirror and see someone stronger, softer, smarter, someone who knows love doesn't have to break you to be real. Sometimes, it just has to wake you up.